All right, we could probably get started. So welcome everybody. Today our guest is Norm Eng from the SBA. Obviously there's been a lot of questions around PPP and things like that. So Norm, we're really excited to have you here today and answer some of the group's questions, but feel free to tell us, a little bit about yourself and then we'll kick this off.
Thanks, Alex. Hey, everyone. Pleasure to be here. I have been working for the SBA for 7 years, 10 years as a federal servant. Grew up, born and raised in Boston's Chinatown, South Bend area. Currently live in Milton. Two munchkins in elementary school, and glad to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, we're happy to have you. So to kick this off, we'd love to hear about, obviously the PPP was just released again today for the second time. Do you have any updates on kind of how that process has been going, any bottlenecks, and how long do you expect this funding will last?
Yeah, so crazy. This morning at 10:30, the SBA's e-tran system kicked off, and already in an hour or so in, there was a glitch, and the system had to close temporarily due to overload. But it's a historic time that we're living in, and the PPP Increase Act added about 300 billion more, and so hopefully, it will address the already submitted applications left over from the last round, and we shall see, if it's enough.
Definitely. So how this is going to work today, Norm, I know you have some slides prepared to kind of walk the group kind of through. And then we're going to try to leave some time for some questions. So if you're watching this right now, there should be the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Feel free at any moment, starting now, to put in your questions. And then after Norm walks us through the deck that he put together on kind of some overview of the information and where to find some additional resources, we'll be able to get to as many questions as possible. So be sure to fill up the Q&A box, and then we'll try to leave some time. But Norm, go ahead. I know you have some information prepared, so walk us through kind of some helpful information.
For sure. So here's today's agenda. I'm going to walk you through 5 SBA programs you can take advantage of, as well as highlight other things like scams and jobs that are available. A lot of people are out of work, and then just summarize. I know we only have a half hour here, so I'm going to go quickly through these slides. So again, this all started early March, phase 1. We are actually in phase 3.5 right now with the Paycheck Protection Program and Healthcare Enhancement Act that was passed Friday. Now, around March 18th, which was phase 2, is when we opened up the EIDL loan program. Some of you may have already applied for EIDL, not PPP, but EIDL, which is the disaster program that comes straight from the SBA and Treasury. And so folks could have applied statewide starting March 18th for EIDL. Fast forward to today, we have both PPP and EIDL in high demand, and the 5 programs that I want to go over today consist of PPP, EIDL, the advanced grants, SBA debt relief, which is for those that already have an SBA loan, 7A, 504 microloan. You're getting 6 months of relief. SBA is paying for your monthly principal and interest for 6 months. We also have an SBA bridge loan, which works in conjunction with the EIDL. You can get $25K quickly with an SBA designated express lender. Those of you that need more help, need some one-on-one mentorship or counseling, I want you to know that there's resources out there. You're not alone. Okay, we have a network of partners, including SCORE, SBDC, Small Business Development Center, our Women's Business Center, Center for Women in Enterprise, and for veterans, if there's any veterans out there, we have a Veterans Business Outreach Center, as well as an export center and procurement technical assistance center, which is helping folks with government contracting. Now, first, I want to give you an update on the PPP and where we stand on that. Here's a rundown of the eligibility criteria along with different facts about the PPP program. Now, I'm sure some of you on this webinar here may have heard during the last round of funding that you got locked out. That whole Ruth's Chris controversy, Shake Shack. I was just reading a tweet that said the Lakers, NBA Lakers, they qualified for the PPP program, Alex, and they actually turned it down. So that was something where it's a complicated program, and the lawmakers' intent was to just get it out there quickly, and obviously there were some flaws, but with the second round of funding, the new law that passed, they definitely shored up some of the imperfections in the law, and they have put a lot of different restrictions. So as of today, updates, brand new. Yesterday, a email got sent out from our headquarters with some of the upgrades to the PPP program rules. And so they're implementing things like pacing the number of loans processed in the E-Tran system. They're instituting a max dollar amount for each of the lending institutions. So you heard about like the Chases and like the Wells Fargo. Maybe they did something that in-house. What we did at the SBA is we put these new rules into place so that it's more fair, and so that not one bank or any lending institution dominates this round of funding. So these are just more standards that were put in place to make sure that more equitable access to these programs. As of the 16th of April, Massachusetts was actually top 10, okay, in terms of getting PPP money. And again, this data is excluding, the money that's being returned by the big companies that you heard in the news. So Massachusetts, close to 47,000 loans were approved for about 10 billion. Average loan size was 200K. Okay, so not everything you read in the news and headlines is, gospel. Really this picture was painted like, oh, all these big companies are getting it, the small guys are being left out. But really the data says otherwise. You look at the different industry sectors, and construction was number one. Professional, scientific, and technical services like dental offices, medical office, optometry services, real estate offices. So number two, manufacturing, healthcare, and social assistance. Nonprofits also qualified for this program. And then top five rounded out with restaurants, food service, accommodation. All right, some of you on this Zoom, maybe you didn't get an application. Okay, and here's how you can get in and apply. There's four ways really. There's a PPP participating lender finder, which is an online tool. You just type in a zip code and it'll bring up all the eligible lenders. We also have a state list with all the lenders and a localized lender list. Now, in addition, people are taking the strategy of applying in multiple places, a local lender as well as a fintech lender. There's two types of fintech lenders. The first is approved by the SBA, and they're able to process on their own. Number 5 below, there's a list, and this is not a all-inclusive list. This is including but not limited to. There's a list of fintechs that are working with partner banks. So what I've been telling people is really try online, get an application in there in the queue, and also search for a localized lender, maybe a credit union that is accepting outside customers. So one of the big issues from the last round of funding was many banks were saying, hey, we're only servicing the current customers we have first, and you have to have a business banking account and whatnot. Well, you're not required to apply for PPP at your lender. You can go to any lender. All right. Alex, anything to chime in with?
We have some questions coming in. A lot of them are around forgiveness of the loan. Is there any color that you could add to that, or any resources that you could point them to around the forgiveness piece?
Great segue. So right here is we're going to dive deeper into the PPP and talk about forgiveness. I want to point out and share my web browser and take you to exactly where to find guidance. You want to go to treasury.gov. Do you see this, Alex? The treasury.gov website here?
Yep.
Okay. You will go to treasury.gov, and there's a small business paycheck protection program page. All of the guidance and rules gets populated here. Everything new comes here first. And part of my job at SBA is I take links from here and put it on our website. So come here, it gets populated new here first. If you're looking for forgiveness, FAQs, one of the things that's new that came out is just how to calculate loan amounts. So you come to this document here if you're still trying to calculate your forgiveness, and it will give you step-by-step clarified rules on the questions that you have. Okay. Now, I want to point out also that interim final rule from April 2nd is sort of the Bible that we're all working from. Okay, so anything baseline, you want to go here for the final rule, interim final rule. And again, we are still in a period where interim means it's not finalized. There can still be changes. There's so many moving parts, and information is changing daily. So I wanted to just quickly point that out. I'm going to take you back to the slide deck here. Now, I just took you there. Let's dive into forgiveness. So let's say you were successful in the first round in getting funding, Alex, and you don't know where to begin. Like, how do I use this money? Well, once you get the money, an 8-week forgiveness period begins. The clock is ticking. There's 56 days for you to use this money. Now, in order for you to get 100% forgiveness, all you have to do is spend at least 75% of that money on payroll, paying your employees. Okay. The other 25%, not more than, can go to rent, lease, mortgage interest, keeping the lights on, water, telephone, internet access. So as long as you keep those two rules true, you can achieve 100% forgiveness. Now, what happens if I can't? Because let's say some of my employees are on unemployment, they're getting that extra $600 a week. That's amazing. And they don't want to come back to work. Well, one of the ways your forgiveness amount can be reduced is if you do not keep the same headcount. So one of the rules is you must bring back all of your employees, the number of heads, back to the time before crisis. So that was before February 15th. And so, for example, if your headcount reduced by 10%, the loan forgiveness amount is reduced by 10%. Other reasons, were you going to say something, Alex?
Yeah, we just have one question that I feel like is relevant. One question came through: how could an employer be expected to spend the PPP on payroll if they're not allowed to legally be open right now to operate their business? That's
a very good question, and honestly, I don't think, I'm not sure if the lawmakers kept that in mind when they made this law, but I know the intent was to bring employers back and employees back. And what that also does is bring their health insurance back. So in a way, they also wanted to protect their health insurance. But yeah, a restaurant that can't open and sell food, it doesn't make sense for them to bring all their employees back right away when they're making more on unemployment. But what I can tell you is that you don't have to bring back the same employees, okay? And even if you do bring back the same employees, they are okay just being at home, not working. Like, they don't have to be working. What they want to do with this PPP program is just bring those employees back to the employer and keep them connected. And they're kind of like saying, hey, after 2 months, we're hopeful that the economy will open back up and that at least that business will have the employees to come back.
And do the same forgiveness rules apply for sole proprietors?
No, actually. So for sole proprietors, the main thing to remember there is the forgiveness amount is capped. Actually, you cannot get 100% forgiveness. The main thing to remember there is you only can get 8 weeks of forgiveness. So it's sort of like prevents you from getting a windfall, so to speak. In the rules, there is on the Treasury site, there is an interim final rule just for sole proprietors. And so anybody that is a sole proprietor that have a Schedule C that they file with their taxes, you can qualify as a sole proprietor independent contractor if you have a Schedule C that you file with the IRS and you have a line item number 31 where if there's a number there, then you qualify. If line item 31 on Schedule C is 0, you can't qualify.
And then one more question that seems to be pretty consistent is, can you apply for both PPP and unemployment at the same time? Can you qualify for both?
No, you cannot, actually. It's a tough decision business owners are having to make. And from what I understand, it's one or the other. You do need to game plan with a good accountant and CPA. So that's the decisions that people are wrestling with right now. But that's not to say that the rules cannot be tweaked in the near future. So I think this is such a popular issue that there's a potential for this being tweaked down the line. So I just keep, kind of like keep your ears peeled, and it's something that could be changed because it's interim.
Right. One more question. Sorry to keep following up, but these questions seem to be relevant to this part of the conversation. So if the business isn't reopened after the 8 weeks and the employer is paying the employees to be at home and not work, can the employer at that point, if the business is still not reopening after the 8 weeks, can the employer lay them off and will the loan be forgiven at that point?
Yes. So after the 8 weeks, yes, the business has no requirement to stay open. Okay. So technically, yes, business can just fold after that 8 weeks. If you're just trying to achieve that full forgiveness, that is one strategy I've been hearing some people explore. Well,
right.
Yeah.
I think it's more if it's not safe to reopen after another 8 weeks, which is, we just don't know what direction it will go in that sense. I think that's more the question, is if you get the loan, you pay the 8 weeks, and then we're still not able to reopen, what do you do then? More than it is a strategy, I think, is more the question,
Correct. You have no obligation to keep them on. So this slide here is just a summary of ways your forgiveness amount can be reduced. So again, if your headcount is not maintained, if the salary level is maintained, let's say you bring people back and then you reduce their salary by over 25%, that's another reason. And let's say you spend the proceeds outside of that 8-week window, because I've had someone ask me, oh, can I pay rent from the month before? Because I still owe that. And so unfortunately, if you use it for that, That is not a qualified. Remember, it starts when you get the money, that 8-week window. Okay. Let me move on to EIDL. Is there any other questions there?
Not so much. A lot of the same questions around. Let me scroll back up and make sure we didn't miss any.
Okay.
One question just around the 25% of the PPP outside of payroll. Is there a more specific list of items that are forgivable as part of that 25% outside of the payroll?
Yes. So again, I would go to that Treasury website, and then the interim final rules from April 3rd, I think it was. Yeah, April 2nd.
Okay.
Sorry, April 2nd. Again, all of the guidance is on treasury.gov. So let's talk about EIDL real quick.
Yeah.
Some of you may have taken advantage of the 10K grant. There was some controversy there. In the law, it was written like, oh, everybody's supposed to get $10,000 within 3 days of applying. And truth is, there wasn't enough money, and it rolled out so quickly that it just had to control it by saying there's an interim final rule, and any employer with up to 10 employees, they can get 1K for each employee up to 10K. Okay, and right now the EIDL portal is closed and not open, and they're really just trying to catch up from all of the applications from the last batch. And if you, let's see, if you applied, I know there's a lot of questions about, oh, how do I find out status if I applied already? I'm gonna get to that. If you haven't applied yet, these are the stats, what it's all about. If you want to apply, I would suggest you sign up for our newsletter at the SBA Massachusetts District Office. Go to sba.gov/updates and sign up for our updates. I'm gonna announce when the portal opens back up through Twitter and our newsletter. So that's the only way to get the word out ASAP. We just don't know yet. Our Twitter is at SBA_MA. Here's what happened through April 24th. Okay, total dollars, around 8 billion, about 40,000 loans in Massachusetts. It did process 768 for 150 million, as compared to California, close to 9,000. We're not in the top 10 here, but the advance, this slide is telling us about how much money in advance in Massachusetts. It processed 25,800 for 110 million. And again, every day we keep getting reports of more and more being processed. When the portal does open back up, this is where you would go. If you did not apply using this application portal, you were not considered for that up to 10K grant. So on the 18th of March, when we launched the program, it had to change 2 times actually, because the system kept clogging. There were too many people applying. And so this was the newest streamlined process. If you didn't apply here, you have to apply again to try and get that 10K grant that is fully forgiven. You don't have to repay it back. All right. Now, this is the 10. We're a little heading up on time here, but here's a checklist I wanted to get here. Those of you on the call here that have already applied, I do not have access to the system. I wish I did. A lot of people are reaching out to me asking for loan status because they didn't get any info, and SBA is silent. Well, it's taking 3 to 4 weeks from when you applied to get that advance, and even just getting an email. So the SBA will never call you and say, here's your update. After you applied, you would just get a application number generated on the website portal, and you had to write that down or take a screenshot. If you want to know your status, you need to call customer service, 800-659-2955, get to a customer rep first level, then you should ask for a tier 2 representative, and they will be able to look up your status and make sure you're in the system properly. Again, it's 3 to 4 weeks, and really, like, SBA doesn't tell you much. They drop you a deposit, and it comes from SBA Treasury in your bank account, and then a couple days later, they're supposed to reach out to you and let you know if your loan's done. So here's a 3-step process. Again, you apply, loan decision, close. All right, the next program is debt relief. This is a really simple thing. If you have an existing SBA loan, we're paying 6 months for you. If you want to take out a new SBA loan, let's say you can't get any disaster funding, and maybe you want to apply for a regular SBA loan at a bank, you can try and do that in 6 months, and your principal and interest will also be paid. This is a pretty cool offering that we're helping small business owners with. Now, the next program is Express Bridge Loan. So this is actually a pilot program, but you can get up to 25K quickly, fast turnaround. I've heard it's 3 to 5 days. So the trick here is you have to identify if your current bank is an express SBA lender. And so we have a list on our website, sba.gov/MA. Look at our lender list under lending resources, and there's an Excel spreadsheet. It'll show you which ones are designated as an express lender. So you have to go to one of those express lenders. And the debt service for this for this bridge loan can be paid for with the EIDL if you've already applied for the EIDL. So it kind of works in conjunction with EIDL. All right, I want everybody to consider, lastly, just doing a check-in with one of our resource partners. Just kind of like going to the doctor for a checkup. All right, Boston.score.org is a group of volunteer mentors, and they have set up a nice calendar system. Just go to the website and book an appointment, and there's a calendar where you could just choose a time. You know, it doesn't hurt, doesn't cost you anything, it's free. Same goes for the other resource partners that SBA funds. So SBA funds them so that they can provide free counseling to you. We have Women's Business Center, we have a Veterans Business Center, exporting, and government contracting, technical assistance. All right, I'm wrapping up, Alex. The perfect timing. Scams, look out for scams. Phishing attacks are going on through email, and like I said, SBA will hardly ever call you. Those of you that are out of work and are actually looking for work, try applying for one of these work from home jobs. I mean, it's just customer care, program support, and if you have finance background, they're looking for loan processing people to help out with EIDL. Just to summarize, and then we can answer any questions. This is a very, very fast-moving situation, and things are changing daily. I'm also monitoring the news, and Stephanie Rule on Twitter and Senator Rubio on Twitter, and they're giving the play-by-plays, and no guarantees due to high demand. There's just so many applications in the system that we will have to see if this round of funding is going to take care of most of what's already in the system. Keep your eyes peeled on treasury.gov for all of the future guidance as well. And definitely, you need to speak with a CPA or an accountant. All right, there's my contact info. Again, follow us, subscribe. Alex?
Thank you, Norm. I mean, we have so many questions that have come in. If you don't mind, let's try to do one or two just real quick, just to wrap up.
Yeah, I'm down for as many as you want to. Yeah, we can go as long as you like.
One that I saw that I feel like many people might have is, what qualifies someone as an employee, and does the business owner's salary count in terms of the payroll qualification?
Yeah, so there is new guidance out for employees, and so Yeah, part-time and full-time, if you add them up, there's a formula. So yesterday, there's a brand new FAQ that goes deeper into this. And as far as an owner being counted, as long as the owner is paid by W-2, it does count. And let's say it's a partnership. If it's a partnership entity, as long as you have a K1 specifying how much the owner is making, that the K1 is being used to calculate loan amount.
Gotcha. If a business has already laid off the employees, can that business still apply for the PPP loan, bring them back onto the payroll, and get 100% forgiveness?
Yes, so that's the whole intent of this program. As long as you bring them back to pre-disaster levels, and again, you have no obligation to keep them on after the 8-week period, but the whole idea is to bring them back, and then people are getting creative with it too. I've been hearing, please consult with the CPA, but you can give hazard pay, and you can also potentially give bonus pay. So different ways that you can achieve full forgiveness. Consult with the CPA.
We have a bunch of sole proprietors as part of our group, but also questions from them. The main question is, what has been, you've walked through some of the numbers like of the overall program, but for the sole proprietor specifically, there seems to be this sense that not many of them are getting approved for the PPP program. Do you have any insight into kind of the success specifically for the sole proprietors? And do you recommend for the sole proprietors, is PPP the right way to go? Is it EIDL? Any recommendations in terms of decision where to take, or apply for the funding?
There is no guidance on that on Treasury, just for sole proprietors. And there's also a good handbook that the U.S. Chamber put out. Just Google U.S. Chamber independent contractor PPP, and it'll come up. But really, there's no secret formula. I would definitely try and target like a smaller credit union to get in right now, and additionally try and use one of those fintech lenders, because as you noticed in my previous slide, SBA put rules around big banks and the limits they can applications they can process. So probably like a smaller lending institution, and really look out for grants as well. The U.S. Chamber had a grant opportunity that closed in like a day or two. When these grant opportunities come out for like sole proprietors or like industry specific professionals, like I saw one for artists, mass cultural arts, that state agency had $1,000 grant for artists. I don't know if it's still out there, but these grant opportunities, you have to apply very quickly because it's going quick.
Definitely. So Norm, you offered to join our Slack channel. I'll be sending you the invite after this, so we're excited to have you be a part of that. Yeah. And then also, the attendees submitted a lot of questions ahead of time, and you did send back a Word document with some notes on those questions. So with your permission, we'll send that along after the call, along with the recording of this, and then obviously you'll be a part of our Slack channel, and hopefully you'll keep us apprised in terms of any new updates, anything like that. Feel free to chime in anytime. Obviously there's many more questions, so anything you can do to help is appreciated. But appreciate your time today, and we'll be sending along the follow-up information to everyone who attended and the rest of the group. But thanks so much for this. It was really helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Alex, and thank you to the Boston Globe. I'm always gonna be here to support. I'm a public servant. I work for all of you. Solidarity with all the small business owners out there, and I look forward to continuing the conversation on Slack.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks, everybody, and thanks, Norm. Appreciate it.
Thank you.